Hey everyone, how you doing today? I'm Kirsty and I'm going to be talking through my Christmas and birthday wish list. I saw Shah on Thoroughly Enjoy Books do this video very recently. It's her birthday in December and she's 3 weeks before Christmas. My birthday is January and I'm 3 weeks after Christmas. So I thought I would do a bit of a Christmas/birthday wish list. And I've got sort of a few categories. I've got non-bookish things that are just generic things that I would love to have more of or just have. Then there are the actual books where I'm going to separate into 3 categories of series that I've already started and now want the books to continue them, series that I am just interested in, or books in general that I'm just interested in and really want to get a hold of. And then finally, we have books that I want to get because they're going to be part of reading challenges that I would like to take part in next year. And I'm going to kickstart with the items that are non-bookish. The 2 biggest things that I would love to get some more of are zebra mildliners, because editing Kirsty here, and I recorded this in November, and I received an Amazon delivery a few days ago, and when I opened it thinking it was something I'd ordered and then forgotten about, because that's not uncommon for me, I realised it was a Christmas present from Charlotte over at Clumsy Charlotte, and it contained a pack of mildliner highlighters as well as 1 book that is on this list. So thank you so much to Charlotte for my highlighters, as well as a copy of Captive Prince by C.S. Pacat. Thank you so much, and yeah, just thank you. Certainly since I've started highlighting in my books, I've been running through them at a rapid rate of knots, especially the blue ones. I've gone through like 4 blue pens. So either they don't fill them with as much ink or they just run out even quicker than standard. Hello. You have graced us with your presence. So zebra mildliners, definitely. And bookmarks. I have such a small collection of bookmarks, and I love trying to find a bookmark that either is from the book that I'm reading or just the aesthetic of the bookmark matches the cover of the book. And it is so hard to do that with my current collection. So I would love as many different pretty bookmarks as I can get my hands on. And yeah. We also have the bookish stuff. So like I said, I've split this into 3 categories. We've got books and series that I've already started and want to continue, which I'm going to start with the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. I read the first book, gave it 5 stars, really loved it. I have heard some worrying things about the rest of the series. However, I do want to keep it going. So Kingdom of the Cursed and Kingdom of the Feared are both on my wish list to try and get to next year. And on the theme of Kerry Maniscalco, I also would like to continue the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. So I've read book 1 and 2. I'd now like to read book 3 and 4. So Escape from Houdini, and I can't remember the final one's name, but Escaping Houdini is the key one because that's obviously the next in the series. Then we have one, and you might notice a trend here where a lot of these are fairy loot books that came out years ago that I read back then and haven't ever gotten around to doing the sequels of. And one of those is Illusionary, which is book 2 in the Incendiaries duology by Zoraida Cordova. This has a really interesting magic system that requires metals, and different metals allow you to access different magic abilities. And there was betrayal in this. There was like someone coming back from the dead in this. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun time. But again, it might be one that I need to reread the first book before I move on to the second book, because it was quite a political storyline and I've forgotten quite a lot of the details of it. So I might just need a bit of a refresher. Another fairy loot one that I read the first book and haven't read the sequel yet is The Boundless by Anna Bright. This is book 2 in the Beholder series. And I remember The Beholder kind of was a bit average for me, but it's one of those books that I sometimes just think of randomly, and I remember the characters and I remember so much of the plot, and I'm like, well, clearly this is a book that had more of an impact than I realised, so I really want to go back and find out. And especially, I think it was Torsten was his name, the main one of the lead guys, But yeah, I remember it was going to go somewhere interesting, and I think the next book is going to be better. So I would love to get hold of that and see for myself and complete the duology. And then the final one that is from the Fairy Loot book selection is Written in Starlight by Isabel Ibanez. This is the second book in the Woven in Moonlight duology, and I really liked the first book. It's another one of those books that when I read it, I was kind of like, yeah, this is all right, but it's kind of stuck with me, and I bought a copy of it a couple of months ago because I saw it on Vinted for really cheap, and I keep thinking about it, and I really want to get around to reading it in January. So I now really want to get the second book, so hopefully I can finish it and just go straight on to the second one. And then the last things for this one are, I've got a few graphic novel series that I would really love to finish or continue. We have Saga, which is Romeo and Juliet set in space, and honestly I thought that was going to make me hate it, but the characters are so well done. The art style in this series is fantastic, and every single relationship that's happened so far, or every single character that's been introduced, have been sublime. And I really, really want to continue this. I only have the first volume, so any volume after the first one I am happy to get a hold of. And also that applies for Fence as well. I didn't think with this one, I was a bit like, I don't know, because fencing has never interested me. However, I was intrigued by a few people saying that it was enemies to lovers, and I see the enemies bit so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that relationship goes, and now I really want to continue on with that series. Coming up, we now have books that I want to read as part of reading challenges, and there's only 2 for this one, so it's going to be very quick. Both of these are for the 52 in 52 reading challenge. First one, I actually can't remember what the prompt is that made me go for this book, but it's Lessons in Chemistry. I've heard a lot about this book and I think it's really interesting. It's different to what I would normally read because it's set in the 1960s and it follows like a woman working in the sciences. And as a woman who worked in the sciences and studied science, I think it's a really good one for me to read. And then secondly, we had a book that was a posthumous release, and I've gone with Morris by E.M. Forster. I've never read any of his stuff, I don't really know anything about him, but what I've heard is that this book is a pioneering book for LGBT and talks a lot about the secret side of being gay in a time when it was illegal and could get you killed. So I think it could be a very insightful read. And then finally we just have the books that I've added onto my wish list just because I think they look cool and I want to get to them. First up, we have Captive Prince by C.S. Pacat. This has been on my list for a while. This is one that divides people. They either love it or hate it. From those who love it and what I've heard, I think I will love it. Apparently it is quite similar to the Plated Prisoner series, and it does involve the manipulation, but it does go even darker than the Plated Prisoner. But this one goes into dark themes that I can deal with and that I actually have no bother with, like assassin stuff I'm very interested in. Not that I want to be an assassin. You know what I mean. Those tropes are okay for me. But this one just looks so cool. And yeah, I've heard a lot of people recommend it to me, and my friend Emily recommended it to me first and she was like, please read it. Next up is Seasons of the Storm. This one came onto my radar as it came out, and I just thought the concept was fantastic, where Jack Sommers, who is kind of, I'm guessing, based off Jack Frost, who chose to live and became a deity who every year he must hunt the season that comes before him. Summer kills spring, autumn kills summer, etc, etc. And winter and spring fall for each other when spring's supposed to kill winter, and I'm just like, yes please, here for that. I want to read this. Next up we have a Spindle Splintered by Alex E. Harrow. I want to get this purely because it's a retelling, which we all know I love retellings. Secondly, it's Alex E. Harrow, who 2 for 2 books I have loved. So I want to see and continue that on, and I have talked about this book and this author recently in my favourite authors video. Then we have one that's a middle grade, and that's Amari and the Night Brothers, and I've just seen this everywhere. Loads of people love it, loads of people have talked about it, and there's not really anything I can say about why I want to read it. It's just everything that I've heard appeals to me, and I think because I've seen so much hype around it, I now want to know what it's all about. We then have A Magic Steeped in Poison, and this one very much appeals to me because again it comes down that sort of like poison, assassin, darker, line, and I think it's fascinating that the magic system revolves around tea, and I just think it's really lovely, and I think it's very Asian inspired, very intricate, and the cover is just gorgeous. I wanted to read it based off the cover alone, and then I read the blurb and wanted to read it even more. Next up is another one of the authors that I talked about a little bit on my favourite author video, and that is Marissa Meyer. And I would love to give Gilded a go, especially as the second book came out recently. So I know that both books are out, so if I can try and get both books together, that would be brilliant. And I really want to read this because this one is it a Rumpelstiltskin, I believe? I'm pretty sure this is like another fairy tale type retelling and is Rumpelstiltskin inspired. And I know people get this and Gild very confused because the covers are kind of similar, and one's King Midas, one's Rumpelstiltskin, so they both deal with gold, but from what I understand they are two very, very different books, and I'm very interested now, especially as they came out around about the same time as well. So yeah, I want to find out if Marissa Meyer is going to be a favourite author, and also if I'm going to love another series of hers as much as I did the first one that I read. Next up, I would love to get the collector's edition of Six of Crows, just because it's pretty, it's special edition, and I don't really need to say any more than it's pretty. I do have a few more, but I feel like if I could go through all of them, I'm just going to be here forever. So rather than talk about what the books are about, I will just list a few of them that I'm interested in, just sort of show them on screen. So these are all just books that are on the wish list, but I just don't want to run out of time talking about them, and I don't want to be here for half an hour. So like I said, there's quite a good mix of books on my wish list, but the priority for me is to try and finish series this year. I really want to try and actually complete more than 5 in 2022. I think I've done 3. I'd like to try and do a minimum 5 in 2023. I do have more, but I've currently moved them onto an alternative wish list so that I can just focus on the priority books for now. And then there's also a few extra bits mixed in with there. And yeah, that's pretty much the last few years. It's gone from being my wish list being very mixed with things like art supplies and books and I don't know, random stuff, to now it's just pretty much books, bookmarks, highlighters, chocolate. Let me know in the comments below what book is at the top of your wish list this Christmas. I hope you're good. I hope you're all staying safe. And until next time, which will be tomorrow, bye.